Okay, can you start?
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so today I want to discuss a little bit about the versioning, and this is something like a guideline for the Docker's maintainers for versioning, because with app extension there are PRs already that put a version for each Docker and also for the base OS. And so this document, this is a small document, which is basically a guideline. So let's first define, like we know that we already agreed that a Docker, a package is versioned according to semantic versioning, which includes the major, minor, and patch numbers, where the major means basically the API version of this package. The minor is like a functionality, and the patch is the bug fix or a minor enhancement. So let's define what is a Docker package API. So naturally, this is like a config DB, application DB, state DB table schema provided by this package. So if I write a package that listens to config DB and expects a configuration to come with the following schema, like which is defined in the SWSS doc schema file, which is in the SONiC SWSS repository. If I change that in a backward incompatible way, that means I break the API, so users can no longer configure it through the config DB or the app DB, or a show CLI cannot work because the state DB format changes, so on. It also means the Redis-based IPC communication API, which is the underlying libraries, which is the SWSS common inside Redis. Those two libraries provide the producer-consumer table abstractions, which implement the communication between different processes using the Redis pub sub channels, and also the Redis queues. And if that implementation of the libSWSS common changes, that means in a backwards incompatible way, that means that the API of the package that uses libSWSS common also changes. The same goes for libsci Redis. If there is an API change in the sci or in the communication method used by the sci Redis and the syncd, that means the API of the package changes. And here are some rules. So what we propose is that currently we don't have a mechanism to do automatic versioning. Like, it would be very nice if we could use, for example, conventional commits format, where in the commit message you specify whether it's a breaking change or a new feature or a bug fix, and then we can just during build we can just list the commits, for example, and auto increment the right number of the version of this library, and also on the submodules update to increment the relevant number in a package that uses these libraries. Currently, it's all manual. So the manual version update happens on SONiC release or branch out, or a bug fix which require a new package to be published to users via container registry. So basically, we propose that when there is a SONiC release, the package maintainer needs to change the version of his Docker. So it also there is this assumption that within a release, major and minor version must not change, meaning the API compatibility is promised in that release. And there is also no new functionality, so the minor versions also stays the same within a release. On release, the package maintainer must check the package API compatibility with previous release.
I think, Stephen,
Yeah.
this okay. I think this may be an accepted one. I may not know this. Maybe it's accepted already at the community level that once you make a release like 2012, there is no more new features added, right? Is that some kind of a agreement we already have in community level, right?
I mean, it's not always, you know, for 1911 that was not the case. So
True. But
1911
I
had,
think it's being
but I
firmed up,
think,
right?
this release, which is 2012,
Uh-huh.
we had a clear statement that no
Okay.
new features can be done, no new functionality, only bug fixes. And that makes sense. Otherwise, we cannot really make use of this application extension infrastructure. Because imagine I install a release
Sure.
and then I
Yeah.
upgrade and all my packages are no longer compatible. And yeah, so this is something that we need to promise, that API is backwards compatible within a release, and by API this is meant.
And also this also includes the base OS.
Yeah, base
And
OS, we will touch that in a minute. Okay.
okay, go ahead.
This is only about the Dockers, and my Docker, for example, depends on a Docker which follows this versioning, and I depend, for example, on the appdb schema because I want to configure something using the appdb. For example, my application wants to set some data to application DB so that our agent consumes that and translates it into SCI Redis calls. So if that changes, the SWSS major version should change, should increment. And in my package, it's natural for a package to depend on a particular version, but less than the next major version.
I think Mike has a question, Stephen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, so I had a question. This is Visu. The second bullet, right? Would you rather say that I'm trying to see if a negation of this sentence is probably more meaningful. When an API compatibility is changed, then at least one of the major or minor version will change.
Oh, okay. I need to clarify this. So the major version changes. That means the API is broken. But minor version, it's like for stability, it should not change, because if you introduce new functionality, that is not something that we do for release.
Okay, then why do you have to specify minor in this sentence then? Because the bullet is talking about compatibility.
Okay, yeah. I need to add another like a line here saying about the minor version in a separate sentence.
Okay, thanks.
So what's the new definition? Can you tell us?
Now, minor
how
version,
is this?
It's like if you do a new functionality updates, and this should not change because in the release you don't want to add new functionality to the release. So minor version should also not change. That's the assumption.
So within a release, and major and minor must not change.
Yes. Major because you otherwise break the API.
Major I can understand completely, and minor. So minor. Okay, the major is like a big swap. I mean, complete incompatibility is possible. And when I do a minor, what qualifies for minor update is changes
new functionality.
New functionality without breaking the existing one. Breaking the existing one is a minor version, and patches are for bug. So within a release, and major and minor must not change.
Yes, minor should not also change because of if you do it with branches and you update minor version on a release in a branch, that may conflict with the minor update in the master. And we can see here so at this point, I do a release. So I create a new branch. I start here with 112. Sorry, that should be 113. That should I fix in this document. But the idea here, if you update then the minor here in a branch, then you will do a conflict with this one, right? You will have 120 in a release branch, and you will have 120 in a master branch. Because in a release, you don't want to have a new functionality because of stability reasons. And that's the whole point of a release, that there is a code freeze, basically. Then we can assume the minor will not change. We will not know how, we won't have a conflict between versions, between different releases.
Stephen, as much as I understand what you're suggesting, but it seems a little counterintuitive to me. Because usually when you say read major and minor versions and batch version, the major is essentially for new functionality and minor is for compatibility without really changing much. And patch is essentially a bug fix. Here you have swapped the definition of major and minor. You say major is for compatibility of the API and minor is for new functionality. So if you see the second branch in your diagram, it has two releases, 112 and 101.
Oh, that should be fixed to 113. Like that is like a typo.
So okay. So go ahead, Visu. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm just still confused about whether the major and minor definitions, whether it's just me that think they're confused, that think who thinks that it is slightly confusing. It is clear that we want to have something to maintain compatibility, right? And we want to have something that says I am adding a major feature. Whether the major feature introduces a compatibility change or not is also there. Well, and now, given these parameters, what is that which you want to choose as major versus minor? So Stephen has chosen something, and I'm just thinking whether that is a bit confusing for me, at least. Yeah.
The major is a new change that breaks the compatibility. Major is the breaking change.
Right, I understand. So that is what you are suggesting. And just thinking, usually when you have a major version of something, that means it has a lot of functionality added, new functionality.
Yes.
That's when you change a major. So here it is slightly different. You are talking about a new functionality for minor, not major.
No, major can mean it's new functionality, but which includes the backward incompatibility. Minor is a new functionality which is backwards compatible.
Okay. So I'm done. You can go ahead, Redka.
Yeah. So here in this map, version whatever releases going on at 121, for example. If I have a package built using 121, and then I can deploy that on a switch running originally 101.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm just asking you.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about the package upgrade.
Yeah.
So this version is not like a constraint for a package upgrade. You can still upgrade to an incompatible version, which you can still upgrade from 100 to 200. But the point is here that if my package depends on SWSS greater than 100 but less than 200, because this is a usual way to define the dependency. You want to depend on a specific major version. And then if I have the package installed which depends on SWSS version 100 and I upgrade to SWSS to 200, I will fail the upgrade.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I was just double confirming. Okay, go ahead. You go ahead. I got my answer.
Okay, so on release, package maintainer must check the package API compatibility with previous release. Basically, two two things that need to check. The libswss common history and using the conventional commits where the committer adds the information about the type of change can help a lot here.
Okay, I'm little confused. Okay, when someone is making a new release or release 2, right? Branching off of release 2, right? Okay, for example, when you're in release 1 and you are moving from, okay, let's take this as a base OS version, this 110, right? I mean, this is an example for same example applies for whether it's a base OS version or a specific feature version, right? Or any, right? Am I correct? This stands for everything, like either base OS version or a package version or a.
Yeah, the only thing is what changes the base OS, what kind of API and feature base OS provides for a Docker.
Okay, so here is the question. When we have versions for packages, but we do not have versions for libraries, right?
Yes.
So when the libraries established as common or SOI Redis changes, do they reflect in the base OS version?
No, because this is not something that Docker, depends on that.
No, the question is, if I am okay, so release 1 is after release 1, there are some changes happened in the new features came in SWSS common and SOI Redis, right? And because of that, when that happens, every package is built in the image uses those two packages.
I see. Okay.
So someone had to change every package, or you could reflect this as this lib being the base. You could consider that as a part of the base OS and update the base OS, right? So
what's the point to update base OS version?
No, I'm not saying that you do that. I'm just asking you. So if after 100, after the release 1 point, when someone changes, add a new functionality in SWSS common or SOI Redis, how does that reflect? So is he going? Okay, what someone had to do it? What I have to do?
If this is a new functionality.
Okay, I add some new functionality into SWSS common. Then what do I do?
If this is a new functionality that isn't used even by your Docker, or even if it is used by your Docker, this does not reflect in the functionality of a Docker itself.
Okay, say I introduced a new functionality today in SWSS common. I change one of my Dockers to use that functionality. So I update. So my Docker functionality itself has not changed. For example, if it is a Arc agent, the Arc agent itself hasn't changed much. It just, instead of using some API, I switched to new API for performance reason or whatever not, right? So Arc agent hasn't changed in any way, but it switched to the new API, and I still update the minor version of my Arc agent, or how is that?
You update the patch version.
But this is the new functionality in SWSS common.
But this is not a new functionality for a Docker.
Okay, so
there is another question. If this new API that Arc agent uses is backwards compatible with the old, if I optimize the producer table in the SWSS common, is that optimization backwards compatible with old consumer table? That's the question. If not, then I need to break things and I need to update manager.
So if I change functionality in an SWSS common API, which is used by all Docker images, for example, and I change the way it works, okay, some minor change in the complete totally different way of working, but I make sure all the packages don't break, right? And I made the change in the SWSS common. So basically, I'm trying to find all the how and when your package version should be updated.
If you're doing a change in libswss common, which is what I heard minor or totally different way of the communication.
It appears to be, yeah, it appears to be to me from what I heard from you, even if I add completely new APIs, new ways, I mean, or change an existing API, that is transparent to the consumer. But underlying, it may be doing something very different, right? Instead of writing it to state DB, it may be writing it to counter DB. Just, I mean, just for the argument's sake, it it doesn't make sense.
So then the old
but
consumer table will not know that.
Yeah, but the consumer of the API does not know that, because it's all internally handled within those APIs.
No. I mean consumer table. Let's say this. Let's say a recent example. Okay, libsws is common, and there is a producer and consumer table. And recently, SONiC there is, if you know, SONiC has previously the Redis synchronous mode, which uses the producer consumer table, and then it switched to zero message queue, which is totally different. From the API perspective, it can be the same. I can still have a producer table set. I can still have a consumer table get. It's the programming API. It's the same, but the communication way changes, and it's a breaking change. So this is what it's stated here. Then you need to break things and update the major version. Your Docker is now communicating with other Dockers in a way other Dockers cannot understand. So this is a major change. We need to break things.
Stephen, so in this example that you suggested, right, there are 3 versions at play. One is the Arc Agent Docker version, if there is SWSS Docker. Then the libsws common library version. The third one is the version that the Arc Agent says I need so and so version of the SWSS common. So can you suggest where the changes will be for each of these versions? If, say, for example, we remove the Redis based producer consumer and replace it with a zero and cube change.
Where needs to be a version change?
Right. So each of these 3, there are 3 places, 3 versions are indicated. So where are you suggesting that these 3 change?
Ideally, libsws common Debian package major change should update. And SWSS maintainer, Docker maintainer, when he sees that there is an update or some module update, and he sees the new version, he needs to reflect that in his Docker. So there are 2 major version updates. One is in the library because it's no longer compatible. It may still be a API compatibility, like a programmer API, producer set and consumer get, but the underlying the ABI, let's say, compatibility is totally different. That means need to break things. So 2 places where the major increment should happen.
And then there is this third version where SWSS says I need so and so version. So that also now should change.
Which third? I didn't get that.
See, if I am a Docker, my version is 1, and my dependency on somebody else is also there, right? So the dependency version, if I am dependent on the SWSS common, then that also I should reflect in my version, my dependencies, correct?
By the dependency, you mean the manifest described dependencies.
Right.
In a manifest described dependencies, you need also to, you cannot, it's not like you update version and don't do anything. Like you need, this is a release, so you need to verify that, and you need a SONiC which is compatible with you. So you reflect it also in the dependency. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
SONiC greater than 200 is also something that needs to be done. I will put it explicitly in this line as well, in this guideline as well. Okay. Case the package must increment the major version. So this we talked about, and package maintainer must increment the minor version in master prior to branch out. So this is the, sorry?
In case API changed comparing to, so if I change if I'm updating a Redis API under the hood to something to do in a different way, and which is not, which is transparent to the consumer of the API, right? But I'm changing the way I'm talking. So in that case, I have to go and find all the Dockers who are using me and upgrade their versions. Even though it is transparent, I have to, right?
It's like if you look at the programming API, this is not the same as the API by the Docker, right? So this may be transparent to the developer, but not transparent like if you run it on the switch, the other consumer is not. You must update that.
So that's where the thing is, right? How because so who keeps a guard on that, right? Like, because when I am doing my work as a deep developer of Redis who has no idea and I just wanted to improve things, right? And I go and change. And I really, at that point, I'm so narrowly minded because I'm an expert into that Redis, right? Like my whole world is Redis or very internal to that. So I just improve the thing. I do it something more efficient. But I never think at because I'm being such a very cornered or very focused developer into one small area, I'm into that whole. I don't see necessarily the bigger picture, meaning like I have to go and update because I changed the way, and I need to update everybody who is using me. I have to find and update everyone who is using me, because if that package is installed on an older version of the SONiC switch, it's not going to work. It's going to break, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we enforce this? And also on top of it, sometime as a developer, I think this should be completely transparent. It shouldn't have any problem because there are multiple developers touching the code, right? Not one. And so I don't even know if my change is going to have a backward problem with the older releases or not. That is also a case, right? So unless we test it against some kind of mechanism to test it against, right? We can't really 100% say this newer one built in 1.1.1 is seeing package built using at 1.1.1 is compatible to run in 1.0.0. So you get my point, right? So how do we enforce this? How do we make sure that how do we ensure that the packages are properly updated with the versioning is one thing, right? And the second thing is when multiple developers are touching in from release between release 1 and release 2, when multiple developers are touching it, right? What is the point of this 110 and 111 happening? Is it on every commit or?
No, so this is a manual work right now. So there is no like an automatic.
That's where my
we will not be able to commit
I
to
have a
this
feeling
phase.
I have a feeling you suggested or someone suggested like the commits have to be kind of identify. So I think you mentioned be a nice word, right? What commits?
Conventional commits. I don't remember, but it's something like an approach that is called conventional commits.
Yeah, I mean, somehow at the point of release 2, someone had to take a look at all the commits that went between 1 and 2 and decide the package versions at the point of release. I don't know, like
but this is still not enforced.
It still seems a little not defined. We don't have a proper defined process is my concern.
So last time when we discussed this topic, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, right? one of the things that was suggested was that for every commit now we add a flag that says compatibility is gone or compatibility is still there with that commit. So
Yeah,
at that,
this is
so
what
that
the command.
flag, right? So this flag is an automated thing, and it is supposed to basically help the package owner or the package maintainer to decide upon a version, whether the major should be incremented or minor should be incremented. At least that's
And
what I remember.
and plus this has to be enforced at every review, right? Because the developer may not look at it that way and
Correct.
enforce that. It should be a tick box or something to make sure that that check is done.
Correct.
It's on you guys, I think, because you are the one who eventually merge things. So I understand there is no like an automatic.
I mean,
way
the
to
person merges
enforce.
is one. Yeah, the person merges is one thing, right? I mean, that person just has the key to merge. Beyond that, the community, the entire community, the reviewers, all reviewers should take this responsibility to, because the experts are all over the place, right? Subject experts.
Yeah, but still, the one there is at least one who must do review and approve from Microsoft side.
Yeah.
And
One
if
who merges should.
Right now we teach people to follow that, then we can,
Okay, so in that case, okay, so are we going this approach of the commits marking it as compatibility info as part of the commit, and only on every release we do that?
We can start, we can start it in these two libraries.
It's not just two libraries, right? Every package also, because between release 1 and 2, there are many people making changes, for example, in ArcAgent, right? Lot of changes going to ArcAgent. So this all could be combined into one, because if 3 people making a minor change, it can reflect as one minor change in release 2. It need not be 1.3, because we run out of numbers very fast, right? I mean, if there are between release 1 and 2, even if there is one commit that has a minor update recommended, then we increment. Or if the number of patches also between 1 and 2 become too many, that can also, suggest a minor change when the number of patches, something like that, some guidelines.
Yeah, so I actually, for the manual, if we have this manual update, the patch version, we can for now like skip updating unless there is a bug fix, which is a must, and you push a new container to container registry, new image to container registry. In that case, you increment the patch, because for doing it for patch version, it's like on every single commit, basically, almost, right? On every commit that touches.
Yeah. I mean, every commit makes some change, and it could be. I mean, it falls into it to the minimum of a patch. So are we going in that line of commits, mentioning it and the release point? Okay, in the case of releases, the person who makes a release take a look at the commits and updates the numbers. And as for the individual release branches are concerned, I think there will be an owner for each release branch, right? Like 1.0.0, like 2012, like 2019, 2018 has something called a branch owner.
Yeah, but there should be also, I believe, a person who is responsible for a particular Docker. Otherwise, one person cannot manage that all for every Docker in a single release. There should be an owner per Docker, I think.
sounds right. Sounds right. Sounds right. And
it's easier for an owner to manage several releases, but for one Docker, rather than a single person manages all Docker in a single release, I believe.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think, guys, you already have like a person who is the owner for a Docker. I know that Tamer, for example, is the HCP relay owner. So
I don't think there is a, I mean, because DHCP relay might be a small one, right? So he might be, I'm not sure every change goes through him. For example, ArcAgent, right? ArcAgent is a huge thing. There is no single owner for ArcAgent today, to my knowledge.
yeah, and that's what we are trying. Later, the orc agent, partially the orc agent will come with a separate process in a separate Docker, and there will be a separate owner for that.
Okay, so what is
This
that
is a
we are?
phase 2 and the orc agent extension story.
So okay, so what is our recommendation right now? So the recommendation is, are we going to change the commits to include the suggestions?
I would propose, yes, for repositories, actually for every repository to use the conventional commits. It's not just for versioning, it's for reviewers, for a lot of things can be improved using this format. Then having a person who is responsible for a Docker and on the release updates the versions correctly according to the rules.
So are you updating this document to include your new proposal?
I mean with the conventional commits?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's actually that's something
So
I wanted to propose, but
I mean,
it's not stated explicitly in this document. I will add it.
No, the point is now this is between release 1 and 2. There is no 110, 111 in between. At every release point, we declare the version.
Yeah.
Isn't that
is that the? Go ahead.
Isn't that a problem, Renuka? Because when we say release, we are talking about release of SONiC, like 2021-06 or 12 or something. Correct. Now, let's say that I am maintaining a hypothetical Docker, and right now it is in version 1.0.0, right? And I may have, see, one of the new features for the next major SONiC release, I may be developing now, and I may be finishing in a month or so. So then that's a incompatible change. So I'll rather go from 1.0.0 to 2.0.0, but well before the next release. So the major change is not necessarily lined up with the major number change for my Docker is not necessarily lined up with the next SONiC release. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand, Visu, but we are here talking only about the Dockers that are built as part of the image, not about new third-party Dockers.
No. So even not third-party Docker, I may be contributing, which is basically part of the same base image, right? What I'm saying is,
for example, if you are going to, let's take a concrete example. Let's take you are going to ArcAgent. Let's say it's in 1.0.0 today, right? And release 1 is made. 2012 is cut off, and it is 1.0.0. And now you are working on a major change in ArcAgent. And but this major changes, you should now call it 2.0.0 for ArcAgent. So what do you do in your commit? Okay, I'm just going through the process what we are agreed upon. Let's see whether there is a hole in that process. So in your commits, you are going to say major change. tick the major change, right?
Correct.
And you make these changes,
Correct.
and even someone else may make another changes, which is also might be major, and it all
Right.
stays inside. And when someone is cutting 2021-06 going to cut in June, they will see that the ARC agent has undergone major changes by a couple of people, and so I will tag at release 2 point, which is 2021-06. I'll call it 200 for ARC agent.
That I'm thinking is a problem.
Why?
Right? Okay, so let's say I made my change to ARC agent.
Correct.
And I'm calling the SWSS Docker as version 200, but it is not called 200 until you are saying until the next branch is cut. What if there are other Dockers which require this new incompatible functionality in the ARC agent for them to be tested daily until the release is done?
Yeah, I get it. I get your point. Yeah, between release 1 and 2, when you're updating the Kubernetes ARC agent built between these, could this be, I mean, that has to be tagged.
See, I think this should
master, right? Yeah. This is master. This is a development image. You know, you don't promise anything. As well for developers. Just force install it if the dependency is not right and test it without these versions.
No, Stephen, the point is, for example, I released 1.0.0. It's going on in production, right? And I want forget about major update. I want a new feature in ARC agent, right? And I don't want to wait. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, no. Okay, 1.0.0 is released. It's in the production, and release 2 is 6 months ahead, right? But I want immediately a new small feature to go into the 1.0.0. So I so in the master branch, I quickly develop my feature, test everything. Say I'm at the point 1.1.0 in your hypothetically in your picture, and now I've developed my updated my ARC agent, and I want to deploy this ARC agent 1.1.0 into my 1.0.0, right? So I test it, and I'm happy that my work is good. So I pushed into the app back manager with a compatibility as 1.0.0, right? So that everybody can enjoy, right? So that's what Steve Vishwanathan is saying. Like, okay, but here I'm not waiting for 6 months, right? That's the whole point of app packages, right? App packages. So the point is, at that point, I think there is one more sub process because the app extension is a quicker turnaround, right? That's the whole point of this project, right? So I think there will be one more process coming in between, like when you make the updates in ARC agent and when you want to release it for production use, there's a process that should be involved, right? It undergoes some testing to make sure that when what you are comparing for example, if I call 1.2.0, then I should be compatible with anything running 1.0.0 or above, or some kind of, or I had to tell exactly this is compatible only from 1.1.0 or something like that, right? So I test my things for my compatibility, and and then push it into the repo for use by anyone in production, right? So when the process of me pushing that into the app repo will involve updating the versions, right, as well testing it. I'm just thinking. So there'll be a sub processes, sub release processes is one.
Yes. There in the middle there can be done a publish, like a one image release,
exactly.
one Docker.
Yeah, some kind of sub releases.
And then you update that.
Yeah.
And then once there is another release or another, it's like.
Yeah. So the main
release. First publish. Let's clarify for a publish it and version update. Okay. So first is the release, right? Second is that it's when you have a bug fix that you critically need in your production and to upgrade to that. Those are two triggers for a Docker image, for a version for a Docker image to be updated, than to publish it, right?
Are you there, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So you're in your picture. Are you done, Stephen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
I ask if this is the right understanding. If you want me to repeat, I can repeat.
Yeah,
this.
can you please repeat it? Kind of dropped for me a little bit.
Yeah, so so what is the what I want to clarify here? So what is the trigger for doing a version update and to publish a package to a container registry? First trigger is the release. So this is something that is planned and or happens like another trigger is on demand when there is a critical bug fix or a critical functionality needed. That way you update the version in that point and publish it to the container registry. And then on the planet release, you just look at the last that was,
changed, and as well the commits that went between 1.2.1 to 2.0.0.
So there is no problem, like, you see that. So between there is 1.2.0, 1.2.1. This is like, you can call it on-demand releases.
Got it.
Yeah. So on demand, we can go either to 1.2.0 or 2.0.0.
It can be for a single Docker.
Yeah. It could go 2.0.0 also. Yes, you're right, Visu.
Yeah.
But the point is when you do 2.0.0, you wouldn't do a sub release, because when the moment you say 2.0.0, okay, but you could always say compatible, even though it's a major release. Generally, major releases are not compatible with any backward.
They're not backward compatible.
Yeah. So you generally
all
don't
necessary testing has to be done, and then only then we.
In some cases, if you are doing a major and still you think compatible, and it's at your call, and you will test it, and then you will say it that it is still compatible with 1.0.0.
And 2.0.0 can be here as well if you need that. Then you can then you can just on next release, you can think, oh, there was a breaking change between 2.0.0 and current. Then I call it 3.0.0. But if there was no, I just increment the minor. Like for
sounds right. So in that case, now, yes, in that case, we have two I do not know if the document reflects it, like two things, right? One is a sub-release process. And two is every commit must include what kind of changes they have. Should it be qualified as a patch, or should it be qualified as a minor update, or should it be qualified as a major update?
I will add those two to the document, and this is currently not in PR. I just, this document, I just created it today, basically.
Once we are happy in this subgroup, right? And the next we would need to call a little bit bigger, heads from every places, right? Like all this release owners and feature owners, or few people who don't like, for example, Ying, Rita, and Gugan, and Ben, and Ben is here. From I do not know everyone. There is one from Dell. There are a few people, right? That top people who are managing the releases and versioning, kind of need to get their attention to an approval, right? Like we need some kind of a special meeting. Lyet, right? Lyet, she and people. So those people will have to be called into a special meeting and make sure they buy in this.
Okay, let's do it on the community meeting. I think many people need that.
Yeah, you are right. Either community meeting, or if you want, you can have one more specific subset of people who you think, Lyet, Ben, and
with Liat, I can have like
oh, okay, you can talk with her,
right?
Yeah.
And Bam is here, Gohan,
Ying, Rita, and Yeah. So is any other community person who is very actively at a high level? So I mean, if it depends, like we can have a community review complete, or we can have something more specific and then go for community.
I see. Okay, I will first
You
talk
can
to
check with
Liat and
Light,
then
or yeah.
yes.
Light is the right person to check on that. Yes.
I want also to
And also one more thing is also we need to make sure that this scheme of carrot is this kind of carrot thing is standard. One cat 5.0.
It's somewhere doesn't specify that, but this is pretty standard way. If you look at the some package managers, I think of a Node package manager, and also there is a library for Python that parses those strings and provides a nice API to check, validate. They understand that.
Okay. We may now need to justify that because yeah, we had to see show the standard we are following on this. And yeah, you could mention this Python libraries also APIs example to show that how useful.
Also, I want to about the base OS version. So base OS version was added. So if you think about that, your Docker generally doesn't care about the base OS, the host that it's running on, right? There are two things, two scenarios where it cares.
Yeah, there's one thing with that might change this in future with the dbus.
Yes, as well, but I don't know about that. If you
no, it is coming soon. I think Ben is here. He knows it's been a long outstanding thing, and with a
so this let me
framework.
clarify. So this is a daemon running on the host that the Docker can communicate with them with that, right?
Sorry. Repeat. Can you repeat the last statement?
So what is this dbus? Just a quick clarification. This is like a daemon.
No. Dbus is basically a backend door to invoke the host software directly.
No, I understand the dbus. What's in general? What it is in SONiC? Like it's a some service that runs on the host, and the Docker can communicate with it to do some, as you said, backdoor.
Backdoor into the host. Yes.
Okay, so we need to add this another line for that. I just didn't know about that, so didn't know there is a use for that. So yeah, one thing is the SONiC utilities and the Uni, because until CLI auto generation, it comes as a plugin, and if the SONiC utilities changes, the same rules apply. Like SONiC utilities, same follows the conventional commits. If changes the API that can be used by the plugin, then the same story. Then we need to reflect it in the base OS. There is also special case.
Okay. So lib-based the libraries will reflect in the package, should reflect in the consuming packages, whereas the SONiC utilities will reflect in the base OS.
Currently, yes. Until we have CLI auto generation, then we will not have this dependency.
I think we need to have some discussion on the CLI auto generation, Stephen. I saw
we will have editors planned for phase 2. Currently,
I'm just thinking there should not be any dependency on that aspect. It may be there. It may be there for some CLI, may not be there for some, right? So let's talk about it.
Yes, its current phase was declared as a simple way just to plug in something, and it should there are a lot of issues, including that you are running a script potentially with sudo, which was copied from a Docker that you installed from the internet, which is not right. So the CLI auto-generation is the right approach, and we have a plan to start the design for the CLI auto-generation this month. So, possibly in a month, we will have this this topic discussed on this meeting.
Sure. I'm not saying. Okay, so I have a different opinion on this, but not for today. One thing I wanted to also you to include, if you guys are okay, is that when there is a major version change for a package, the maintainer must send a mail on the no SONiC distribution list to make sure that all other package managers are aware and then can see if they need to change their dependencies.
Okay.
I don't think that would work, Vishu. I don't know whether people watch for mails.
Actually, okay. General rule: if you want for this infrastructure to work good,
Yeah.
general rule is not break API, because otherwise you know within you can break it every release, right? And have to reinstall packages every release. There is no use of that, because on the one package upgrade you will need to reinstall every that depend on it, and it's the same as just reinstalling the whole SONiC. Can be like that.
Stephen, but there may be other use cases, right? You're only talking about API backward compatibility. There can be the requirement of a new version because it has additional functionality, right? And
yeah, that
let's say
is okay.
And we keep adding new features across the board all the time. So it's not just only about backward compatibility. Yeah.
I'm worrying about only backward. Yes, new features are okay. That is good, but you know, in a backward compatible way.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Stephen, this CLI auto generation, is it being discussed independent of this? I mean, it in a different team meetings?
No. Currently, it's not being discussed. There were some plans long time ago, but we dropped that feature because we couldn't make it for phase 1. And there is a person who will do the design for that and present it, I think, in a month.
Oh, who is that? Just to cue, so we know.
It's Vadim from NVIDIA.
Oh, okay. No, just want to make sure that the right people are involved in that, you know, like.
I think because it will all depend on Young, I think that will also go to Young subgroup and also to this subgroup, and we will all talk. So.
Yeah, I mean, make sure that Vishwanath and other people who are interested in that is included in that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we are running. We have to go to the next meeting. So I think we have to pass here. So the call is Stephen will be updating this document with what we discussed upon, and then send it out and send out the document to this group. And I'll make sure that on my side, MSFT people are aware of this, and then we will. You can discuss with the Liat or our next option, and whether it could be straight community meeting or something in between. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
That was
I'll stop
a great discussion, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll stop recording here.
Yeah, thank